Thanks for being here already, guys. Yeah, I figured it's been a while since I've talked about the game, more broad strokes. We did one of these Q&As like a few months ago, but I figured we're a bit overdue. A lot of news has come out over the last couple months. We announced the closed beta date. Figured it's a good time to check in person. If you could pitch the Bazaar in one sentence for former Hearthstone noobs, what would it be? I don't know, PvP Slay the Spire, maybe. Something like that. But you don't have to figure out what order to play your cards in. The cards play themselves. So you guys can play the Bazaar in October. We're going into closed beta soon. We announced at the OTK Games Expo. It's been exciting, you know, getting closer to launch. We've been hard at work on this thing for so many years, and it's finally ready to see the light of day. So it's exciting. But yeah, it'll be launched in October. Hopefully people like it. You know, the game will be live, and from then on, basically. After closed beta, we go into open beta, then we go into the official launch, start of season 1. So starting October, we're basically always live. It's a big step, a big change. There's still a bunch of last minute things, well, not last minute, but there's a bunch of remaining systems we're trying to get in there before we do take it to beta. It'll still be pretty feature rich as a beta game, but yeah, I think you guys will like it. Can you show new gameplay? I can, and I won't. People just clone it. I'll just wait till the game comes out. People will see the gameplay then. It's kind of better in some ways anyway. Like, it'll be all new for you guys, new stuff to discover. Where can we sign up for the closed beta? Playthebazaar.com. There you go. Alright, so I got a list of questions from folks in the Discord and elsewhere. I'm going to do what I can to get through those first, and I'll get through a bunch in the comments as well as I see them. I'd love to know more specific details about the ranked entry tickets, such as what are all the ways to gain them? Can you buy them for gems? If so, how much? How many can you get in a run? So you can't buy them for gems, you just earn them. So for those of you guys that don't know, let me try to like summarize the first iteration of the ranked system. So basically, there's two modes to play. There's unranked and there's ranked. If you do unranked, it's like an arena run without an entry fee. And if you get the maximum number of wins in your unranked run, you get a ranked voucher, basically. So you can go play ranked for free. Ranked is more like traditional arena, where there's a buy-in. Like in Hearthstone, it's like 150 gold. In our game, it's some amount of gems. And when you do a ranked run, you get a bunch of chests if you get enough wins. So we're giving you a bunch of collectibles every ranked run. And the fact that it has an entry fee lets us do that without, diluting all the collectibles to being worthless. So yeah, the thinking right now is everyone gets the first ranked run per day for free. You get some vouchers from Battle Pass rewards. You get one every time you get the max number of wins in casual. So basically, any events or login rewards or just random places where we're looking to give stuff out, we might include a ranked voucher. You can also open them from chests sometimes. I believe is the current design. So. That's kind of the idea. So, you can still play a ton of ranked and go, especially if you're good, you can go infinite very easily. But it does a bunch of other things. It creates like a daily login reward that way. It lets us be pretty liberal with how many collectibles we give away, which is a big deal. It basically means everyone will get to play with some of the collectible part of the game. It's mostly like having an entry fee on Arena. That's how it works. What percentage would you say the game is finished? I don't know if like a live game can ever be finished. Like the way that it's built, it's kind of built to be built on for a long time. You can just keep adding stuff. So it's never like in a state of done technically, but how close is it to like being ready for closed beta, like a public launch with all the core systems and everything in there. I mean, 90%, I'd say. Like 10% more systems to stand up, and just stuff to hook up, the bread and butter features. And there's some polish. There's always polish that we want to do, but yeah, it's pretty close. I mean, you can see it for yourself in a few months, see how you feel about it. I don't know if everything will be up to the bar that, you know, I really want it to be in the long run. Like, I think on VFX, we could do better, but overall, it's a great game. I think a really one for the ages. You know, I hope people like it as much as I do. It's pretty unique. What makes the Bazaar so special? It's like a drafting game. Like, it's a deck builder at its heart, right? That's what it started as. That's what it still is, just without decks. And I think it's like the richest drafting experience, because it's basically taking everything that you do in an RPG and it's like distilling it down to just its core essence. You go on this adventure and you get all these pieces dealt to you, and then you have to figure out the best way to combine them against other players. And so what's different about our game is you can't really force a build ever. You're like playing what's given you, and so it makes every run feel completely different. And yeah, I think it's just more accessible than the other auto battlers. Like, drafting games are pretty stressful. They have a turn timer, you gotta click too much in too little time, or sometimes you're waiting for the other guy. And this game you can play your own speed. It's all asynchronous, which I think is a big deal. But also it's just good design. Like, the cards are designed in a way where they're like aspirational and simple and really open-ended in how they work. So there's just a lot of build variety, basically. That's what I like about it. You're not like forcing the best build that patch, because you can't, even if you knew what it was. So I think that's kind of what's special about it. How's the replayability in your opinion? It's super replayable, yeah. I mean, I can't think of a more like replayable game. I mean, any game is replayable as long as you're having fun doing it. I think the Bazaar is super replayable because every run is fun, but it's also different. Like, you don't feel like you played the same game twice in a row ever, which I think is a very big deal. It's very hard to do. Yeah, it's a game that rewards creativity, you know, more than mimicry, which is what I really like about it. You know, a bunch of these other card games reward you for figuring out the best strategy and then just copying the best strategy over and over. And our game, you kind of can't do that. You have to be creative on the fly, which I think is pretty cool. Can you queue up with friends or solo like Hearthstone? Just solo for the beta, and then yeah, we're looking into social features later. Yeah, you guys can play in October. You can check out our website, you can check out our YouTube channel. We've been posting a bunch of stuff. Yeah, for those guys that don't know, we've also been doing updates every Friday, which has been pretty nice. So if you want to see card reveals, orchestral stuff, animations, stuff we show down the line, check that out. I think the team did a really good job, you know, building out the world of the Bazaar. It's I don't know. There's a lot to dig into, and I don't know, if you love really getting immersed in a game, I think this is a good one. I love that about Magic, you know, when I played, like, you could pick up any card and just stare at it for a long time, and there's all this depth. There's beautiful art, there's flavor text, it's, I don't know, the design of the thing gives it its own character. Yeah, our game is kind of like that. You can rabbit hole in any part of it quite a bit, I think. What percentage of the player base do you want to be going infinite in the ranked system? I don't know, it depends what you define as infinite. Like the amount of winning you need to do for infinite depends on how many games per day you play. Because like if the first voucher's free, I mean, everyone's infinite even if they lose every ranked run, technically, right? They're just playing one ranked per day, and then if they get a good casual run, they play an extra one. Yeah. Overall, I think it's good, though. It takes gems out of the system. I mean, the other way to do it is you make ranked and unranked both free, and then you have like a prize voucher or some sort of like, you know, you basically buy in to get the prizes, and then free ranked would just not have prizes. Maybe free ranked would have the voucher, and then casual would just have nothing then. But I don't know, like I don't like that as much as what we have now, because what we have now, even the casual players get a ranked voucher sometimes, which means they'll try that mode sometimes, which means they'll get collectibles sometimes. So right now, everyone that plays the game can sort of get a piece of the collectibles action, which I think is a big deal. It's important that everyone has Pokemon cards for Charizard to be, for anyone to care about Charizard, you know, it's like they need to have their own Pokemon cards. So I think the way we're doing it now is super accessible. Like more accounts will have collectibles, which I like. So it's like, I'm trying to think what's actually the best design. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I'm glad a lot of people are asking about it. It's one of those things we're keeping an eye on in beta. Definitely not unwilling to change it if it just doesn't work or if there's surprises with it. You know. Can you talk about pros and cons considerations in regards to having the free ranked option you consider at one point? Ultimately, what made you decide against it? Oh, it's just messy. Like right now, there's two buttons. There's unranked and there's ranked. And if you... Yeah, I mean, that's all there is to it. One of them is on by default. It's really clean user interface. If you end up creating like free ranked, free casual, and then also paid ranked, it just becomes a mess on the UI. You know, you're adding buttons. More people will play ranked if it's free, but I don't know that that's a good thing. Like from the perspective of the player or the company, it's not any different how many players are in the ranked pool. It's nice that they're unified. Like I'd feel weird about lumping in the prize ranked players and the non-prize free ranked players in the same matchmaking pool. That's kind of a consideration. Mostly though, I think getting a voucher is like pretty exciting if ranked mode is paid. It's like you're gonna use it, you're gonna play your run. Whereas like if you have infinite ranked runs, like you won't. You might play less of them. You know what I mean? It's like it's less of like this special thing that you earned. Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of it is like a framing thing, you know. People look at it like adding entry to a ranked mode, but really we're adding a ranking to arena mode, you know, which it's I think the more accurate way to look at it, because there's bigger prizes, right? And in Hearthstone rank there are no prizes that are meaningful at all. So yeah, I don't know. I was wondering if it's like a what we're calling it thing, like maybe we shouldn't call it ranked. Who knows? Yeah, you can stack tickets, and you can also just pay gems to enter. Yeah. Riot solved, fun ranked. Why do it differently? True. Nobody ever complains about Riot's systems. Can we expect any form of regional pricing in the game for purchasing in-game currency? No. That would create like weird arbitrage opportunities that people would buy through whatever, a Polish VPN or something. I think we're going to treat the Bazaar as a global game with global pricing, and yeah, it's going to suck for some regions, but on the flip side of that, it's also kind of good for them, because if they earn stuff in the game, they're also selling it at the global market price. So yeah, I don't know. Everything in the Bazaar is tradable. The FAQ says that the plan for now is for the game to have its own launcher, but is a Steam release something that's being considered? Yeah, so Steam I'm pretty conflicted on. I've been doing a lot of... I've been asking a lot of questions about it lately, digging into it quite a bit. We're not like opposed to Steam, you know. I mean, Steam's not opposed to us by any means. We do have an in-game like auction house, like for players, like a trading post for players to trade their skins with each other inside the game, which I don't know, that might conflict with like Steam's marketplace, right? They want to take 20% off the top and lock accounts out the first time they try using their marketplace for 2 weeks. We'd rather have our market work, you know, so we have our own, but I don't know if that conflicts. Overall though, I know a bunch of people are like they have a lot of client loyalty, they really want to be on Steam. I think it's a shame a lot of people try to vilify developers for just like, oh, you don't want Gabe taking 30% off the top. Did you know that makes you literally worse than Hitler, Reynad? All right, it's just Steam. Come on, it's but you know, our own launcher's working just fine. We got no issues with it. Maybe I could. You guys can check it out. I don't know. Simple. One button, you hit play. You know. Is it the end of the world to use the Tempo launcher for a free game? But there are a ton of users on Steam, a bunch of people that would never discover the game if they don't find it there. And so, you know, there's always that reasoning to go on. I don't know. I'm not opposed. I think the plan for beta at least is let's just self-distribute through our own launcher, and then depending on how that goes, we can add it on Steam later. So. Warframe is on Steam. They handle all their transactions independently. That's another way to do it. Yeah, you can basically send people out of the client onto our website every time. Which, I mean, you know, that has its own issues too. Any opportunities for content writers? I'm very bearish on the content production business. I think if the game, if there is a tempo, it's because the game has players. You know, if the game has players, they're gonna make content anyway. And then we as the studio don't need to be in the content production business. It just sort of splits the focus of the company. So. Well, I definitely want to work with creators to like feature them, and you know, like we'll promote them on our channels and stuff like that. In the launcher itself, like totally open to all that stuff. I just don't think we're going to be hiring people for content creation. That kind of stuff should organically be happening. You know what I mean? What's the most important lesson you've learned during the development of the Bazaar that you wish you knew at the beginning? Time is an illusion. The game launch is always 6 months away. A carrot on a stick, forever the same distance away from me. Every morning I wake up and the game's still not done. No, I don't know. It's there's a lot of like lessons. I don't know. It's hard to like pick one. You know what I mean? I learned lessons in business and game development and design with people. It's a big comprehensive journey, launching a game, building a game studio that builds the game. So I learned a lot of lessons, but it kind of depends on the domain you're asking about, you know. It's a lot of little micro decisions that add up, it feels like. Did you get any encouragement from other enthusiastic people? I got lots of encouragement, yeah. The game industry's been super welcoming, super friendly. Yeah, I don't know. Anyone I reached out to for help was more than willing to help. It wasn't, you know, I don't want to name a handful of people that helped because, you know, this game is a product of, you know, over 100 folks over the years that at various points have touched it in one way or another. Everybody puts a little piece of their soul in it. Everybody helped, you know what I mean? Development is fully remote, yep. Yeah, we've always been a fully remote company, even before COVID. That's just what esports teams were. Any plans about having an offline mode in the future where you can play against default ghosts? Yeah, I'd like to do that. It'd be nice to play on a plane. On launch, it needs to be networked. But yeah, one day maybe. I remember part of your motivation for making the Bazaar was because you were frustrated with Hearthstone development and balance. Do you think working on the Bazaar has made you more or less sympathetic to the decisions from Hearthstone? Well, both. Yeah, I mean, I definitely have way more sympathy for that dev team. I mean, they put their heart and soul into that game, and I just shit-talked it for 7 years, you know? It's, yeah, sitting on this side of it, that's, it's a different perspective. I do think there was stuff that was like just a numbers change that like I know I was right about, and I wish they just did once in a while, you know. But I don't think it would have like meaningfully changed how Hearthstone went down. Set rotation is really like Hearthstone could be a game that lives forever if it wasn't for set rotation. I don't know what they could have done about that though. But yeah, no, Hearthstone team was excellent. I mean, that's I think Hearthstone's really one of the best made games ever. I mean, it's very it's exceptional design. I mean, Magic's exceptional design. Magic's my favorite game. Hearthstone is like, I don't know, it did a lot right. A lot right. You guys will see some of that feel. I mean, like, the Bazaar's a very different game from Hearthstone, you know. A lot of people expect Hearthstone 2, like, Reynad's the Hearthstone guy. Hearthstone 2, Electric Boogaloo. But the gameplay is really different in the Bazaar, right? There's no decks, no minions, no mana, no card drawing. It's a radically different game altogether. But the feel of Hearthstone, that tactile, like, this is a game board that we're sitting in front of. The whole colorful storybook aesthetic. Like, you know, I hope we nailed a lot of those, you know, took a lot of what worked so well for Hearthstone and did it in our own way. Like, I think the feel was something that really inspired me from Hearthstone. Have you tried Marvel Snap? I did, yeah. And Marvel Snap is a fun game. I played a good amount for like a month or so. How often do you expect the metagame to settle in the Bazaar? Well, I hope it never settles. I hope that it's like self-correcting at a certain point, right? Because if a certain strategy gets overrepresented, you could start drafting other cards that are good against it, and it sort of self-corrects. This happens in like traditional draft modes for games like Magic once in a while. Like, you know, nobody's drafting green in a set because everyone knows it's the worst color, and the metagame can sort of self-correct because the one player that does start taking green gets all of it. And so, in kind of a different way, the meta can self-correct in the Bazaar, where, you know, certain cards are good against certain strategies, and you can start picking those up more if something's overrepresented. But yeah, I hope the meta can't settle. The thing about a meta is, like, in theory, there's a list of like the best strategies, and then if you know the list, you can copy the strategies, and then everything gets homogenized and unfun, right? And so in our game, it's like, even if there was a list of best strategies and you knew it, you wouldn't be able to get them. There's like too much content in the game to ever like see the same thing in the same order. Like, you shouldn't be able to force the meta build, even if you know what it is, basically. So I think it's a property pretty unique to our game, which I think will make it harder to solve. I hope the meta kind of will never settle because of that. What are your plans for the competitive scene? We're going to let it organically develop, you know. It's we definitely need some tooling for like friendly matchmaking and stuff that'll let people run their own tournaments more. But I don't think that the studio should like control the competitive scene for any game. You know, if one develops, I think it's awesome. We'll support it for sure. But yeah, I'm not worried about owning that market or whatever. Rerolls being limited, yeah, that's the thing. Like, in our game, you can reroll like once at most merchants. Most other auto battlers, you can reroll infinitely with escalating costs. So you have those big like roll down turns in other games. And the Bazaar, it's not really a thing. All right, see, will the game ever support Linux? One day we'd like to. Yeah, to be honest, it's lower on the priority list, right? It depends how many people use the thing. But we're trying to make the Bazaar a fully cross-platform game, you know, focusing on PC and Mac for beta, and then mobile soon after that is the goal. You know, after that, we can look at consoles, Linux, everything else, you know. How often will patches happen? Will they happen on a schedule like in League or as needed? So the exact like schedule of it, we don't have for you just yet, but philosophically we want really high frequency releases. So the Bazaar is all about having like new, every time you log in you should feel like there's something new. And so we're going to be introducing, new content to the game super often, like even if it's in small doses. One merchant, one new monster enters the Bazaar. You could do updates like that, as often as weekly. And every time we add one of those, it's like permanently changing the game, because that character or that encounter is now in the Bazaar forever. That item, whatever it is. And so I think there will kind of always be this continual trickle of content, but then we also want to do the bigger releases, like a new hero. Whenever we release a new hero, it's 100 new cards to the game, which is a pretty big deal. So there will be big releases, but we want to do like very frequent patches as well with smaller content updates. And I think the balance will just be this thing sprinkled on top of those content releases. Yeah. Gameplay video when? I know we have older content, 2024, latest version. Gameplay when? October, when a streamer does that video for you. I think it was a mistake to do videos like I did in the past. Not just because a bunch of studios cloned it, but I think it's interesting for like mostly the haters, but also like the 100 people super engaged in the project. But it's, nobody's gonna want like a 4-hour, I don't know, but I don't know that I'll do it in that format again. And I'd rather have there be surprises to the game. I mean, honestly, what was in that video was, it's the same core loop now. I don't think you need a new gameplay video other than your own curiosity. If you're that curious, just wait till October. It'll be more surprising. It'll be good. I think the best thing about Path of Exile does is there are releases every 3 months, so players know what to expect. How important is timing releases for you? Yeah, that's a good point. We do have a cadence, right? Like if we do heroes, ideally we would do that like quarterly. That's the fastest we would ever do it. So you could have big releases like that, but we also have like monthly seasons, so that changes a lot of stuff. The battle pass, the chest, the collectibles that are coming out that month. That'll line up with content drops and such. So yeah, I don't know. I'm probably not going to do a gameplay video like the old ones. I think they were underappreciated and over-cloned. Will account info such as in-game currency and MMR be carried over from beta to launch? So all your collectibles, your in-game currency, all that stuff will be carried over. The MMR will not be, because MMR resets every month, every season. So, but that just happens anyway. So that's why it won't carry over. For how long will the closed beta last? So right now the thinking is like, don't quote me on exact dates. We'll announce it, but yeah, like we'll do through November. We'll be closed beta, and then we do open beta through the rest of the year. And then starting January, we'd hit the ground running with season 1, fully live game. What's your most favorite unique feature that makes the Bazaar stand out among other TCG or auto battler games? The fact that it's asynchronous. Like I feel like I'm playing a multiplayer game at my own speed. I think that was the big design innovation we did. I think it just makes the game as accessible as Solitaire, basically, but you still get everything that you get from those drafting games. So, yeah. But as far as like, it's not like one neat trick that the Bazaar has that's going to push it over the top. I think it's just a better executed game than other games. Like it looks better, it plays better, there's more content, it sounds better, it feels better. But also I think it's the combination of features that make it special. Like I think there's a lot of great roguelikes out there, but few or none of them that I can think of are multiplayer, as in like PvP. So it doesn't scratch the PvP itch for me, whereas the Bazaar does. It's still giving you that roguelike experience. Yeah, I mean it's cross-platform. I think there's a collectibles component, which I think is really fun for me as a progression system. I feel like a lot of other roguelikes don't have progression systems like that, especially social ones, like a collectible economy. So yeah, I don't know. I just it checks all the boxes for me and what I want out of a game, whereas most of the other games in this genre check 3 out of 5 boxes in different ways. And so I think that's a big part of it too. It's like the combination of features that makes it special. Was making a game more or less challenging than you expected beforehand? Making a game of this quality bar was definitely harder than I expected. Making a game was about exactly as hard as I expected. I did make a game very fast, right? That game just wasn't that good. And so it took more time and money to make it better. And so I spent more time and money, made a better game. But the game in my head was still a lot better. And so, taking that all the way through, to minimal artistic compromises, that is that's way harder than I thought. To make every part of it the best version of itself, exceptionally hard. Way harder than making the fast game. The fast game we made in a year or two. I don't think that game would have been timeless. That game wouldn't have been as accessible. It would never hit the scale that what I think the current game could. I just don't think, so I don't know, it depends. Basically, it's kind of it gets exponentially harder to make every part of it better and better, but the returns are smaller and smaller. the farther up the quality bar you go. It's asymptotic. I don't know if I'm describing that well. Is every cosmetic that you can get tradable? Yes, that is the plan right now. Every single cosmetic is tradable with other players. How challenging do you think it'll be to bot the Bazaar? Well, I think there are bots in every game, especially if you're gonna give away collectibles that are tradable, that have some value. Now there's an incentive to bot beyond just, rank. So I think there's a couple things that make botting in the Bazaar hard, even though we'll have them. First of all, there's no way to beat botting. It's just this arms race between security and botters that goes on forever. The botters will keep getting better. The security features against them will keep getting better. It's just an arms race that goes on forever. And so I was trying to think of a paradigm where it didn't matter if the player was a bot or not. And that's what I think the entry fee on ranked does. Because if the entry fee is whatever, let's make up a number, 150, right? Like Hearthstone Arena. If the ranked entry was 150, but it paid out 100 gems on average, suddenly any player going into that mode is non-dilutive for the collectible value. It's paying out less than it costs, so it's not bottable at scale. You can't have 10,000 accounts doing that, right? They'll just lose gems on average. So you kind of remove the economic incentive to botting that way with an entry fee, which I think is the most elegant way to do it. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, it's going to be a behind-the-scenes cat and mouse game that we talk very little about. Because why? I remember Twitch announced catching botters in the past, and the botters just they basically leaked how they were finding them. The botters just worked around it. I don't know. It's not something we'll talk about much about our practices. But yeah, I think there will be bots. But I think most importantly, just by design, it doesn't matter if the player's botting or not, if most of the prizes are behind the entry fee. The other thing I'll say is bots are really good at repeating they're really good at mimicry, and they're really bad at creativity. And the Bazaar, like I said, rewards creativity. You can't play it like Hearthstone Arena, where every card has like a power ranking and you can just draft off the tier list. Like, it doesn't work in the Bazaar because the power level of cards is so contextual based on the rest of your build. So I just don't think the bot will know what to take. I think there will be a couple simple builds that are like aggressive that we want to be in the game as designers, and the bot can force those builds. But I don't know, it's just not going to get very far. Also, the payouts are pretty top heavy. Like, it's you want to go deep in a run. You don't just want to play a bunch of runs and get a couple wins here or there. And so I think that also lowers the incentive for botting. So is blockchain integration still a feature of this game? Not for beta. We were never a blockchain game, but I did talk about having like a feature on our website one day where you could export skins into a wallet if you wanted. I think a small percentage of people would use that, but the option doesn't hurt if people want to sell their collectibles elsewhere. I think it's better than like sketchy third-party account selling websites. You know, it's just, I don't like that as much. That's what people are going to do inevitably. So yeah, we might turn on like an export-import feature on our website in the future, but yeah, there was never any integration inside the game itself, like in the client. How much thought have you given to the social aspects of the game? A good amount. I mean, we've it's baby steps, you know. There's a surprising amount of compliance stuff you have to do once you add a chat box to your game. But then, you know, it starts with a friends list, and then there's a dozen ways to use that friends list, and we can start injecting your friends' runs into your runs because it's asynchronous, and I don't know. There's a bunch of like different ways to use social features in our game, and it's just about talking through which ones we really want, prioritizing them. It's all post-launch stuff, though. Right now, we're just focused on getting the core game built, and we're adding the social stuff. Any plans for creating a clan or guild system? Not right now, unfortunately. Sorry. I'm not opposed, I guess. I don't know much about it. I was never doing the clan guild stuff that much in games. Will there be an option to gift my own cosmetics to my friends for birthday presents, etc.? That's a great idea. Gifting is a big deal. Yeah, we need a friends list first. But yeah, I'm totally with you. That would be definitely a social feature we'll add. Yeah, gifting's a big deal. Let's see, regarding usernames, can we change these, and will it be possible to be allowed 4 character names? So we talked a lot about the best way to do usernames. There's a bunch of options, right? You can make every username unique, but then not everybody gets the name that they want. People will squat on some names. We talked about making the names themselves tradable. Because it's like the Bazaar, right? We talked about, okay, there are no unique names. Anyone can have any name they want, and we just add some numbers to the end. That's kind of like Blizzard's solution, right? And then Discord did it both ways. Originally, they had everyone could do whatever name they wanted with some numbers, and then they reverted that, and now you need a specific username because apparently it makes adding friends easier. So I don't know. There's a bunch of like little pros and cons to how you do it. I think most likely we'll just let anyone have any username they want. That passes the profanity filter, but then it'll just have some numbers at the end, right? So there will be hundreds of fake Reynads losing on my behalf. Hearthstone all over again. Are you worried about server overload? Not really. I supported the game back in 2021 through the Bazaar website. If I pick up a Founders Pack, I assume I'll get the benefits from both? Yes. Exactly. But you don't have to buy the Founders Pack to get beta access. You already have it if you ever back the game at any tier, anywhere. You already have beta access. But if you want the skins and the extra stuff, then yeah, these are limited time only, and the Founders Pack's the way to get that. All right, let's see. Next question, where are we at? What's the most challenging part of making the Bazaar? The most challenging part was making the studio that could make the Bazaar. I thought I just had to make the game, and I wanted to like skip all these other steps. But really you need to build a machine that can build the game. And then the game is only as good as the machine building it, basically. And so building a studio was the hard part. And it's this big arcane process. The games are just so complicated. There's so many ways to do it. It took a while to really figure out, like, I mean, it really started clicking for me when I started running it like an esports team again. Like, I did it initially because it's all I understood, and it was going really well. And I stopped doing it in the middle there, and it was going a lot worse. Now I'm all in on running it like a sports team again, which is, you know, it's more selective recruiting, right? You only want the best of the best on your world championship roster. You're selecting for comms as much as talent. Like, communication is just so important. Yeah, it's very like Darwinian in a way. Like, you can't be afraid of like changing what needs to be changed. And so I think at this point we have a really good studio. I think for the genre of game we're making, it's very specialized and very strong. I think the disciplines that it has are like the right people for making this type of game. Like, it's a very tech art heavy studio. You know, it's very 2D art heavy. So our team proportions reflect that. It's a fully remote studio, which is really hard to select for to begin with. Like, a lot of folks just don't thrive in that kind of environment. Other folks are even more productive. But you have to select for that as a company, right? It's like a lot of times you have to hire the wrong person before you know who the right person is even. So I don't know, there's kind of like no shortcut to building a team. It just takes a lot of time and energy and money. And even if you had infinite money, though, you can't do it fast, right? Like, yeah, I don't know, we built a good team culture that I think works for it. No complaints, you know. I think I'm very lucky to work with the people that I do. I think we have a very talented team. Are there any design decisions which remain undecided? Big picture, no. I mean, I think the broad, like the gameplay, big picture stuff is all in there. But the game is designed to be indefinitely scalable. That's what people don't realize. This is not like a game where in order to add new content, you're like replacing previous content and you're playing the new stuff instead. This is a game where everything's cumulative. Every system is cumulative. So it's like by design built to have more stuff put into it, and all the existing stuff gets better the more you do that. And so, yeah, the core game systems, the core loop, the starting pool of encounters and monsters and items, that's all, you know, relatively settled. But, you know, for all this upcoming stuff, you know, we'll be going in for a long time, God willing, that stuff not yet settled. There's always more to talk about, more to noodle on. You know, even with the existing cards, I think there's always room for improvement with card passes. It's like any part of the project, you know, you make a lumpy lump of clay and then you sort of mold it iteratively. Like, the more passes that you do on any part of the game, the better it gets, basically. And card design is no different. But, you know, that goes for visuals, that goes for anything. Reynad, what is the purpose of life? Listen, Dragon Thief, when you figure it out, let me know, all right? Wish I could help you. Are you going to enlist streamers to advertise and play it? I'm not a big believer in buying users, but I will earnestly reach out to content creators and tell them my story. And if some of them feel inclined to play it, I'd be very grateful. But I think streamers will just want to play the game, is my hope. I hope that it's just a more fun option of what they're already spending their time on. Mm-hmm. There will be 5 heroes at full launch that are already revealed. That's not true. We've announced what the first 6 heroes in the game will be, but we haven't announced how many of them will be available when. But yeah, for the beta, we're thinking 3. We'll have Vanessa, Pygmalion, and Dooley as the first 3 heroes, and then we'll periodically unlock the other ones. In the past, you've been against having a permanent reroll button. Is this something that has changed in the recent version of the game? Yeah, our reroll buttons used to be only on some encounters and limited time use. Right now, we put it on more of them. Like most merchants have a reroll, but that reroll is one-time use right now. Yeah, and you have to pay for it. What factors into the appearance rate of items, and do they change throughout the game? For example, by making it more likely to encounter items that synergize with what you already have. So there's a lot of rules to the card dealer, basically, is what we call it, the spawn rules. It depends on what's going on in your run. It depends on your level, what day of the run you're on, like how far into your journey are you. It depends on a whole bunch of things. Cards can affect your spawn rates. But yeah, we try to avoid any behind the scenes, like steering what shows up to be better for you. We don't do it like that. It's a very involved system, the card dealer. There's no concise way to describe it, and I shouldn't. It's one of those design special sauce things. Let's see. How important will balance and the competitive viability of the game be, catering to the top 1% versus overall ease of play? Yeah, I disagree that there needs to be a trade-off all the time. It's not like one has to come at the expense of the other. I think you make a game that's good for both types of players, and that's what we hope the Bazaar will be, a game for everybody. But yeah, we'll do our best to balance around high-level play for the most part. Let's see. Will the digital version of the Founders album be available after launch? No. So it depends what you call launch. Like, once the closed beta is live, the Founders packs will still be up for sale for new people that want to buy in. And as long as the beta is open, those Founders packs are for sale. So people will be able to buy the digital versions then still. Once the beta closes, the Founders packs are no longer for sale. And then the only way to get a digital album will be trading with another player in the game. However many are in circulation at that point is how many will ever exist. But yeah, we didn't do a great job of like describing it, but actually the Founders Pack album is a pretty sweet deal on the website, because you can actually equip it in the game, like, in your little, depending on what albums you own, they're actually equipable in your game at any time. And so that Founders Pack that gives you the orchestral version, you don't just get the physical vinyl, you also get the in-game digital orchestral version that you can now play instead of the other soundtrack at any time. So it's like a digital collectible too that's tradable. Is there a way to upgrade your Founders Pack to the higher tiers? Not easily. You got to message support, but I'm sure we can help you out if that's something you want to do. It's just going to be harder on our end. Sorry, the website was a bit rushed for us. We're getting it fixed up now, though. Team's working hard on it. What have been some of the most funny bugs you've encountered during development? Oh man, I've run into every kind of bug. The visual stuff's always hilarious. Sometimes stuff shows up when it shouldn't. Sometimes it disappears when it shouldn't. I don't know. We've seen so many bugs at this point. Sometimes items are just broken. Sometimes they break the build by being used. I don't know. I don't work as closely with QA these days. I do on some stuff, just not on the other bugs I'm not as familiar with. What's your current favorite item in the Bazaar? Oh man. Dooley has an item called crypto. It changes its price randomly every hour. There is crypto in the Bazaar. But yeah, it's just a card that you can buy for a little, sell for a lot. Hopefully. What kind of social features made it to the version of the game we'll get to play? The one you'll be playing is without social features. We think we'd rather get it out to you sooner and then add the social features later instead of waiting for both to be ready. Let's see. Will there be in-game Easter eggs? Sorry, one sec. Will there be in-game Easter eggs or game references to cinema or games? Absolutely. Who is the 7th hero? What's the name? That'll be revealed later. I think we've been... what I'll say is you guys have seen him, but you don't know that you've seen him. And I said him, I guess. There's that too. Are you guys looking to release indefinitely expansions, or are you at some point going to release a Bazaar 2 like Overwatch did? So the way the Bazaar is built for like a drafting game, this is the only drafting Bazaar that'll ever exist. Like it's built to be built on, basically. So there won't be a sequel to it in the sense of like a game in the same genre with the same systems. We'll just build on this one. But the Bazaar universe is pretty cool. It would be nice to do other games maybe one day in that universe. Who knows? How did the idea for creating card packs with a heroes card pool come about? Would love to know the details on how they work and what they do for drafting. So one of our designers, Toby, came up with that one. I randomly, a couple days, this was like, last year we talked about card packs with him. And then I saw some video, some roguelike YouTubers, I forgot which one, but he was playing some of the mods for Slay the Spire, and apparently there's a pack hero that let you swap out packs as well, which look kind of similar. Yeah, the way that card packs in the Bazaar were going to work originally is like, if you own a hero, you have the 100 card set for that hero. And then card packs are like 10 card sets. So your base 100 card set was going to be 10 of these card packs. And you could unlock new ones over time that we release, and you could swap them in and out. And you basically have to commit to a pool of 100 before the run starts. But then, I don't know, the more we thought about that, the more complicated it seemed. And right now we're leaning towards the card packs just being additive. So like once I unlock a new card pack, those cards are just added to the hero's pool forever when I play that hero. They're originally interchangeable expansions for a hero, and now they're just cumulative. It's kind of the thinking. So you guys mentioned that the card packs, you might be better not to own them sometimes if we release a really bad one. I think we'll have to just buff it if we do that. Because we definitely don't want to release a pack that's so disappointing it's better not to own the thing. So it does kind of run the risk of power creep. Like the new one always has to be good, but it'll be very, very slow power creep to where I think it'll be fine. Like, because we'll release one pack for a hero like relatively slowly. Because we're also releasing new heroes. Those new heroes want enough card packs to keep up with the old ones. So yeah. Last time I heard about Stell, she was getting reworked. What can you tell us about what changes you've done, etc.? So Stell has a bunch of changes. I don't have a lot of like mechanical stuff to tell you. I mean, thematically, she's still the same, right? We're working with the same art, the same images. She's still an aeronaut. There's still a lot of tools, a lot of vehicles in her kit. We've fleshed out her unique encounters a little bit more. There's some that she's going to have that other heroes won't. But yeah, I mean, as far as the core mechanics on cards, I'm not going to get into that too much. We're still kind of interested in altitude potentially, or I don't know. There's a lot of ways to go with her. I'd love to lean into digital only mechanics that like make the hero feel a little more different. Are we going to have an annual roadmap? Are we going to have DLCs, like a new bundle of cards themed, etc.? Man, I worry about roadmaps. Maybe. I'm not opposed to doing a roadmap. I just... I worry that no good can come of it, it's easier to release a roadmap than to release updates. So I see why people do it. But yeah, any deviation and people lose their shit, and I don't know. I think Valve has the right policy with community communication. Say very little, under promise, over deliver. That's kind of the best way to do it. So let's see. Probably no annual roadmap, but we will announce like the hero release schedule, or you'll know that every month there's a new season. So there's like a cadence of new stuff coming out that you can look forward to and know. Can we have a lore written or in small cinematics that can throw us inside the universe of the Bazaar? Yeah, definitely. We'll be doing a lot of that kind of stuff. Let's see. What are seasons going to entail? So every season is a ranked ladder reset. Right now we're planning for 1 month seasons. New month has the ranked reset. It has a new chest. Every chest in the game comes from a specific season, and once that season is done, no more of those chests are ever being earned by anybody. And the contents inside of that chest, those collectibles, no more of them are ever being made. So the only way to get them is from other players at a certain point. So yeah, a new season is the ranked reset, a new chest, a new battle pass, some new content with a patch. And yeah, that battle pass has new game content as well every month. So we know prestige bar is our health bar. Do we get damaged in PvE fights if we lose? And if so, how is the damage we take predetermined? So you don't take it from PvE losses. We tested that for a bit. We had monsters deal 1 damage to you. It was just annoying and embarrassing to lose a run to them. So we took that out. So there's no loss from a PvE fight other than you don't get the experience or the reward, which is a very big deal. You basically skip an hour for nothing. Very costly in the game. And yeah, how it's calculated is based on what day it is. If it's like day 5, it deals 5 prestige damage. That's how it works right now. Do you get increased MMR when you finish a 10-win run with full health bar, compared to when you finish a 10-win run with 25% of your health bar? No. So 10 wins is 10 wins. That gives you the maximum reward. If you get 10 wins without losing a single fight, we call it like a perfect victory, and we show that at the end, but it's mostly just an aesthetic thing. Like in a fighting game, you get a perfect victory. Yeah, so it doesn't matter how many games you lost to get to your 10 wins. Because we don't want to make the rewards for a perfect run even better, because then it feels like as soon as you lose a fight, you're like out of contention for the big reward already, which kind of sucks. If you've ever played like a Magic Online League, you lose the first match, you can't trophy anymore. Like, you really want to play 4 more in a losing league? I don't know. How often do you plan on releasing new content for the Bazaar? Very often. It depends on the content. Some will be coming out like weekly, some will be coming out quarterly. Just depends on how big it is. How readable is game state? I.e., if you see 2 boards, can you tell which is going to win pretty much immediately, or are there complex factors? It's pretty much impossible to tell, because even if you know what all the cards are and what their effect is, the power output of the card is contextual depending on the other items. So every card is like a part of a Rube Goldberg machine. It all adds torque. It's like, I don't know, if you play Balatro and you know all your numbers and what all the cards do, can you do the math on what the number it'll create is very quickly? Sometimes you can. Sometimes it's clear who's going to win. Most of the time, it's pretty undetermined. There's also some random mechanics, like when you slow an item, when you freeze an item, when you haste an item. That's a random target a lot of times. Also, there's crits. So sometimes you'll crit, do double damage or something. That could really swing a fight. So yeah, you basically, it's not as deterministic as it might seem. You kind of got to watch the fight play out to know who's going to win. Let's see. Will items display DPS as well as just damage and cooldown? Will other mechanics in game do the math for you? No. And I'll tell you why. We talked about like showing DPS a bunch of times. The reason we don't do it is because it's misleading as often as it is informative. Because DPS doesn't tell the whole story. Because your cards affect other cards. So it's not just like, oh, what's the output of this? Get the bigger number. Also, some cards do way more damage way later in the fight. Like Boulder. Like, what's the DPS of Boulder? You know, it's sometimes you'd rather do less damage faster instead of more damage slower. So their DPS would be misleading again. Basically, it's there's no way to provide that kind of feedback where it would be honest. But I do think people also like, and I noticed this from Hearthstone stat track websites, like people really like the illusion of being informed. Like even if they would rather have data that's wrong than no data. And so I don't know, maybe it does just add numbers though to show DPS numbers. What you'll be able to do after a fight ends is see a quick recap, and you'll see like how much each of your items did. So like after a fight, you'll be able to see what the output of stuff was. How's Bazaar development funded? We're venture backed. Yeah. We're a 10-year-old startup. We bootstrapped for the first like 5 years of the company. And then when we started making the Bazaar, we took on outside capital for the first time. So yeah, we're a venture backed studio at this point. I think we've raised, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 rounds lifetime. There be any sort of hero mastery to showcase how dedicated you are to the particular heroes? Yeah, on every player will have an account page, and that account page will show your most played heroes, even your most played skins on those heroes. It puts them up on like a pedestal. Yeah, you'll be able to see like what your main is at a glance on your account page. But when you're in a run, there's no like visual mastery component. Like you'll have fancy stuff and collectibles and shiny cards if you collected them, not based on like, oh, you're a super veteran Mac player. It might be cool to add one thing like that. I mean, we have titles, right? Maybe the title would highlight the fact that you're a veteran Mac player, but yeah, not much planned for like visual mastery stuff. Although not mid-run, but out of run there is. Yeah. Are you worried about the game getting figured out? Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what the Bazaar's whole design tries to make impossible, right? The game still gets figured out once in a while. Like there's an item that's just too broken or whatever, but it's a very hard game to figure out. Just because even if you did have it figured out, you can't get the broken thing. So you can only get it sometimes. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's the hardest game that I'm aware of to figure out. And say a game like this or a game like Magic are pretty hard to solve. Is it possible to access your stash and chest at all times in between encounters? Yes. You can open it whenever, as long as you're not in the middle of a fight. Why do all items in shops on new spotlights have the prices erased and doubled? So that's, yeah, the videos that you guys are seeing don't have the final price tag treatment yet. The way that it worked in that build when it was recorded is like if a merchant sells an item for 8, when you sell that same item, you'll sell it for 4. So the merchants have like a markup basically for double. So basically, things sell for half as much as you have to pay for them at a merchant. It stops all the free wash trading, which had a bunch of problems in the game. So basically, yeah, I don't know if that tells the whole story though. The crossed out price tags are definitely confusing. Like the fact that you had to ask is like a problem, right? So I don't think we're going to do the cross out as often. Will there be a short general introduction to the Bazaar type video anytime soon? I'm sure many of us would really appreciate an easy share with everyone video to point confused people in YouTube comments to and get our friends hyped. I think you're right. Yeah, I've noticed some comments like that. I think it's been a while since people have seen it. So yeah, I'll make one like that. I think it's a good idea. I'll do like a, hey, what is the Bazaar? Why is it special? How to play it? And that'll give people some more information for like the item reveals and stuff we have coming up. So yeah, I'll work on that. Okay, is the game mostly reactive in terms of encounters, simply making the best out of what you are presented? Or are there ways to ensure you find certain encounters or items that you need for your build? Vanessa's one weapon synergy or Pig's max HP synergy. Both. Yeah, it's a fine line, right? If you could get exactly what you wanted every time, then there's kind of no randomness. But if everything is super random every time, it feels like you have no control. So there's definitely a middle ground. What you do is several times in a day of the Bazaar, you choose an encounter to go to, and that lets you kind of steer your path. If you're looking for freeze synergy cards, you're going to go to the merchant that sells freeze stuff, right? But also if you're choosing which monster to fight, you'll choose the one that's icy, because then you can loot his items after you kill him, right? And then he'll be more likely to give you something synergistic. So there's a lot of control in what is being dealt to you. You exercise that control by choosing what encounter to go to. But yeah, what you loot from a monster is random. What the merchant will spawn is random. There's certain mechanics you have to give you more control, right? You can reroll once at a merchant, stuff like that. But yeah, it basically you steer your build by deciding where to go. And then once you go somewhere, there's random options presented to you there. What are enchanted art items and how many variants are there going to be? So enchanted items, I'm really, really excited about. They're pretty sweet. They're a way to modify a card you already have that isn't just upgrading it. There's all sorts of enchantments in the game, like over a dozen, and I think we'll be making more over time. But not every item has every enchantment. But most items have most enchantments. And what an enchantment lets you do is basically, like, let's say you have like a weapon and you want to enchant it with fiery. It becomes like a fiery version of that weapon, and now it burns them on hit as like an additional effect on top of the damage. But you could do the same thing with icy. You could do the same thing. I mean, there's weird enchantments too. They're not just like tacking on an effect. Sometimes they change the targeting parameters of the card, or there's a lot of ways to enchant a card, right? Like tiny is one I really like. You can shrink a card so it takes up less space. So yeah, they're a way to modify existing cards in a way that's really visually clear. Like on the art, you see the art change when you enchant a card, so it's clear that it's enchanted. Yeah, that'll be a pretty cool feature though. I think it just adds to the replayability, like or the unsolvableness, right? Like maybe I have the right item, but I don't have the right enchantment for it, and so it's harder to force the broken build. What are enchantments? How will the replay system work? Can we rewatch entire games, or it's just stats and summary? So both. You can go see your run history, and you could click on any fight that you did against a player, and you can see what items you both had, and you can see a damage chart. But then you'll be able to go in and watch a replay of it as well. Or at least we had that in an old prototype. I'm pretty sure we're going to build that back in. Also, during your run, just at the end of a fight, you'll be able to replay the fight if you wanted. So there'll be a lot of ways to watch the whole fight play out. How do you square crit chance in combat with the original opinion that RNG is good, specifically when the agency happens after the RNG? How do you square crit chance in combat with the original opinion that agency happens after? Well, yeah, in this case, it just helps the non-determinism of fights. It grew the design space of the game to introduce crits. I don't think they'll be too frustrating in this game compared to others. In a lot of RPGs, you know, you only do a set number of moves before the other guy dies. In the Bazaar, in these fights, a lot of times items are using themselves over and over and over again, and so, you know, a crit can be super impactful and make the difference. Sometimes, though, it's kind of a law of large numbers thing. It's not as like over the course of a run, you have so many encounters, you're fighting so many players, so many monsters. On average, your crit item is gonna, you know, 10% crit will make it 10% better kind of thing. It's, yeah, I see what you're trying to say though. Like do crits in our game conflict with that RNG video I made like 8 years ago or something? Maybe. I mean, you have agency when you add the item to your build, right? And then the randomness happens as just part of its output. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It will frustrate some people to lose to crits. But I think it would be worse to not have them. The fights would be more deterministic. There'd be less tension. This is kind of like an ever-present comeback mechanic too. So yeah, I don't know. We'll try it out, see how it feels. I'm more worried about not having crit than I am about having it, so. All right, guys. So I got through my 51 Discord-themed questions. I hope some of that was helpful. Grew up watching your videos. Can't wait for the Bazaar. Thanks, Dr. Pepper. I think you guys will like it. I think it's a really special game. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for asking some questions. How many frogs or toads are in the game? Definitely some. Definitely some. One of the merchants, one of the latest merchant arts we have is a toad guy with a top hat. I love that character. It does have PvP. Yeah, it's a PvEVP game. So you do the PvE stuff, you also fight against players. What's my favorite card? Oh man, I don't know. Right now, we have double whammy. This big double hammer that Pygmalion has. I love the art on that card. It does damage based on your own max health. It's kind of like a damage item for big health pig. That one's been fun to play with. Can we see streamers have a long-term success in streaming the game? I mean, it depends if the game has success, right? If the game has a bunch of players, then it'll have a bunch of viewers for the streamers. It becomes one self-fulfilling prophecy kind of thing. We'll see. I think it's a really special game. I think it's going above and beyond in a lot of areas that other games don't. I don't know. I think I have a hard time wanting to play other roguelikes, you know, when you play the Bazaar. So anyway, thank you guys for the kind words. Thank you for hanging out. I'll be doing this more often. I'm sorry for kind of just haphazardly jumping into this one. I can be a little bit more organized next time around. Thank you everyone in Discord who submitted questions. I hope I got through all of them honestly and directly. If there's more that come up, don't hesitate to ask. Just ask them in general or whatever. I'll answer them. And yeah, till next time. Where can we get more info on the Bazaar? Playthebazaar.com. Also on our YouTube channel. Just search for the Bazaar on YouTube. We're doing weekly videos again, so there's always something on Friday for you guys to see if you're interested. Did a new video yesterday. Did a card reveal. But yeah. All right. Till next time, boys. Have a good one.